But according to some, there is wildlife in these woods not so keen to be caught on camera.
They range from about this tall to about 8 feet.
Mitchell Waite is the chief monster chaser for MogollonMonster.com.
Well, I think they're the same species, but probably different races.
The Mogollon Monster is Arizona's Bigfoot. And according to Waite, the Mogollon Monster got his name in 1947 when a big, hairy beast raided a Boy Scout camp near Tonto Creek.
Something just killed my dog.
Something killed your dog?
My dog went flying through the air over the tree, and I don't know how it did it.
Okay.
Deep in Bigfoot territory. Episode 21, The Mogollon Monster. This is a Sasquatch Mafia documentary. Welcome to this episode of Bigfoot territory. Today, we are going to take a closer look at another Bigfoot-like cryptid from the southern United States. The Mogollon Monster, a 7 to 8 feet tall, hair-covered and bipedal hominid, is native to the pine forests of the Mogollon Rim and the Colorado Plateau in eastern Arizona, and has haunted the region for over 100 years. Encounters with the monster are documented from the 1880s to our days, and the monster has been the subject of various books and documentaries. In this episode, we are going to examine historic and recent reports of the Mogollon Monster and take a look at some of the existing pieces of evidence, like photos, videos, and audio recordings.
All black, and it was tall, all black, and the way it walked was taking big strides like this.
The monster got its name from the Mogollon Rim, a densely forested escarpment defining the southwestern edge of the Colorado Plateau in eastern Arizona, and named after Don Juan Ignacio Mogollon, the Spanish governor of New Mexico from 1712 to 1715. The Mogollon Rim and the northern Highland Plateau are characterized by vast forests and high cliffs, making the rim a spectacular landscape. Much of the land south of the Mogollon Rim lies 4,000 to 5,000 feet above sea level, with the escarpment rising to about 8,000 feet. Extensive ponderosa pine forests are found both on the slopes of the rim and on the plateau to the north. The Mogollon Rim is basically a 210-mile-long forested cliff at the southwestern edge of the Colorado Plateau, dividing the highlands of the plateau from the rest of eastern Arizona. Cities and towns near the Mogollon Rim include Payson, Alpine, and Pinetop Lakeside, while Payson became something of a hotbed for sightings of the monster in recent years. The Mogollon Rim is practically bisected by Interstate 17, which runs north to south between Flagstaff and Phoenix. The rim changes ecosystems along the way, from arid Sonoran high desert in Arizona to the largest contiguous ponderosa pine forest in the world on the Colorado Plateau. Another epicenter of activity of the monster is the Fort Apache Indian Reservation south of the Mogollon Rim. White River has been the primary town of the reservation since its founding in 1871. The forests of the Mogollon Rim are vast and endless, covering roughly 4,000 square miles. Most of the forests at the Mogollon Rim belong to the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest and to the Tonto National Forest. The ponderosa pine forest on the Colorado Plateau is the largest contiguous forest of its kind in the world, and reminds the viewer of an endless, breathtaking green ocean of trees. The Mogollon Rim is home to a diverse array of large mammals, including elk, deer, pronghorns, bobcats, coyotes, mountain lions, and black bears. South of the Mogollon Rim lies the Hell's Gate Wilderness, 37,000 acres of protected wilderness within the Tonto National Forest. It was created by the U.S. Congress in 1984 and is managed by the U.S. Forest Service. Historically, various native tribes settled along the Mogollon Rim. The White Mountain Apache, the Hopi, and the Yavapai, among other tribes, were living and hunting in the mountains and forests of the Mogollon Rim and eastern Arizona for many generations. Besides the Mogollon monster, numerous other eerie legends and tales of cryptids exist in the region. The tribes home to the area know native ghost stories of the Skinwalker, or the gigantic Thunderbird, which can sometimes still be seen in the skies above the Mogollon Rim. Also, one of the most famous UFO cases in American history occurred in the forests of the Rim. In November of 1975, a group of loggers was working near Turkey Springs, a densely wooded area in the Apache Sitgreaves National Forest at the Rim. One evening, as the logging crew was about to leave the forest after sundown, a bright light appeared in the sky above the trees. One of the men left the logging truck and started running towards the bright object, as he was hit by a light beam and disappeared together with the object into the dark sky. The other loggers immediately left the scene in shock. The police started the first search parties only hours afterward. In the following days, the police began handling the disappearance as a possible murder case, but all the other loggers verified the story with multiple lie detector tests. The case aroused nationwide interest. 5 days after the evening of his disappearance, the man was found in the streets of the small community of Haber, near the Mogollon Rim, in a state of deep shock and catatonia. The man's name is, of course, Travis Walton, and today the case is widely regarded as the most popular alien abduction in history. Dozens of books, documentaries, and movies were produced about the incident. The most popular movie might be Fire in the Sky from 1993. But the story of the Mogollon monster is much older than any modern UFO case. The monster is described as a tall, hair-covered hominid that has roamed the forests of the region since the early 1900s. The color of its fur varies in the stories, from white to brown and black. The descriptions of the foul, rotten odor that the creature emits and its dark red eyes have stayed constant through the decades. It is said that the creature is omnivorous, nocturnal, and violent. It is generally reported to walk with wide, inhuman strides. On many occasions, footprints of 20 inches in length or more have been measured. The most distinctive feature of the monster is its blood-curdling scream, which has been described as sounding like a woman in great distress or pain. The creature is also said to build nests and structures out of pine branches and twigs, and to mimic coyotes, birds, and other wildlife. In many stories and encounter reports, the Mogollon monster is observed hunting deer or carrying deer carcasses. The earliest local legends in the region stem from the beginning and mid-1900s, when the first settlers in eastern Arizona started having run-ins with the monster in the canyons and forests of the Rim. They also became aware of legends told by the natives of the area, mostly the White Mountain Apache, that spoke of big, hair-covered people living in caves and the remote inner forests of the Mogollon Rim. Another local story tells of a group of cowboys in the 1880s who were spooked out of their camp in the forests at night by a large, hair-covered creature. The cowboys fired shots at the creature before fleeing the forests in panic. The most well-known folktale from the 19th century is that of an early Arizona pioneer named Bill Spade. Although there are several stories and multiple versions, certain elements of the story stay constant in the folklore of eastern Arizona. The pioneer built a log cabin on land adjacent to what is now Camp Geronimo, next to the Mogollon Rim. After the cabin was attacked by the monster on multiple nights, the man was captured and had his face ripped off by the monster. Although he and his wife were never seen again, his face was left hanging from a tree next to the cabin as a warning to others who might trespass upon the creature's lands. The first officially reported encounter of the Mogollon monster comes from 1903, as the Arizona Republican newspaper printed the story of a man named I.W. Stevens, in which the man recounts his confrontation with what he referred to as the wild man of the mountains. The man was venturing into the wilderness north of the Mogollon Rim, between the rim and the Grand Canyon, when he came upon a tall humanoid figure covered in thick white hair that was crouching over the carcasses of 2 slain cougars. The necks of the cougars were obviously broken. As the creature became aware of the man, it screamed at him with the wildest, most unearthly screech. Stevens described the being as tall and man-like, wearing no clothes, and with its entire body covered with white and gray hair or fur, with spots of dirty skin showing here and there. As the creature started to scream at him, he ran away as fast as he could. The most notorious attack of the Mogollon monster happened in 1947, when it raided a Boy Scout camp near Tonto Creek. In August of 1947, a group of Boy Scouts was on a trip in the wilderness near Payson and had their camp at Tonto Creek. One night, the boys were awoken by noises at the camping ground and saw a tall, ape-like figure searching through the equipment and bags of the troop. Nearly a dozen Boy Scouts witnessed the creature. Panic gripped the camping ground as the tall creature stared at the kids. After a short moment, the ape-like figure disappeared into the nightly forest. The following description of the monster was given in 1947. The creature was huge, at least 7 feet tall. Its eyes were deep-set and hard to see, but they seemed expressionless. Its face seemed pretty much devoid of hair, but there seemed to be hair along the sides of its face. Its chest, shoulders, and arms were massive, especially the upper arms, easily upwards of 6 inches in diameter, perhaps much more. I could see it was pretty hairy, but didn't observe really how thick the body hair was. The head was very square, without a neck. The incident at Tonto Creek became an integral and widespread part of the local lore on the Mogollon monster. Remarkably many sightings since the 1950s and 1960s report the monster either hunting or killing deer, sometimes carrying dead deer through the forests. According to researcher Mitch Waite, there is a specific profile for deer kills that differs from that of all other predators, and generally involves the systematic removal of the forelegs, head, heart, and lungs, leaving the bones and hide more or less intact. Another documented historic encounter comes from 1960, as a man named Fred Ohlenberger was driving through the Mogollon Rim. At one point in the forest, he saw an imposing, shaggy figure standing in the middle of the road. Ohlenberger described the creature as extremely tall, maybe 8 feet, and covered in black or dark brownish hair. He stopped his car in shock, only to see the tall creature cross the street with one large step and disappear into the forests. Since then, there have been many more sightings reported by hunters, hikers, and other residents of nearby towns. Some of these sightings have been documented by cryptozoologists such as Mitch Waite and Alex Hearn, who have conducted field investigations and collected evidence such as videos, photos, and audio recordings. In 2014, an unnamed woman was bluff charged by a creature she encountered at a creek at the rim, before the creature retreated into the forest. The woman described the creature as 6 feet tall, fully covered in hair, and bipedal. Only the face of the creature, which the woman described as that of a primitive human, had no hair on it. She encountered the creature hunched on its knees and drinking water from the creek. As the woman tried to capture a photo of the strange being, the creature became aware of her and started running towards her. The woman ran back to her car and was able to leave the forest unharmed.
It is extremely rare to allow cameras to record a Native American ceremony like this rain dance. But the White Mountain Apaches are more progressive than many, and now this tribe is coming to the newsroom exclusively to reveal a secret. For generations on this reservation in eastern Arizona, they have harbored a mysterious beast most of you know as Bigfoot.
Since the early 2000s, increased reports of sightings of the Mogollon monster have been coming from the Fort Apache Indian Reservation. Several people from the reservation claim to have seen the monster in the last 25 years. Although there are no reported attacks on people, some residents claim that the monster is known for stealing chickens and other livestock or killing dogs, cats, and other pets during nocturnal raids and visits to the small settlements in the Indian Reservation. A spokeswoman of the White Mountain Apache Nation in Arizona, Colette Altaha, stated in an article in the Arizona Daily Star, "We're not prone to easily talk to outsiders, but there have been more sightings than ever before. It cannot be ignored any longer." Another tribe member, Marjorie Grimes, who lives in White River and saw the monster in 1982 and 2004, stated, "It was all black and it was tall, with long arms. The way it walked, it was taking big strides. It took 2 strides to cross the street and then it was gone between the trees." Investigators found footprints and tree structures on several occasions in the White Mountains. Even the tribal police made plaster casts of extremely large footprints on private properties several times.
Creek area, one of our officers responded and did actually seen this creature.
All I said to myself when I saw it was, "Oh my God."
Sightings are becoming more frequent. Calls to 911 are investigated, even verified.
At that time, I know it's not human. It's tall. It's really tall, and it was black. And when it turned, humans, they don't have a light circle around, like a circle like around their eyes. So when it saw my lights, it ducked down.
Police reports list a large, unidentified primate, like a gorilla, big, tall, black, hairy being, and extremely large footprints 5 feet apart. Then there's physical evidence.
And they took a casting of some of the prints. And some nearby brush, one of the officers found a tuft of hair.
The hair, carefully collected and preserved in an evidence jar, then sent to the state crime lab for DNA testing.
Regarding local reports, Tribal Police Lieutenant Ray Burnett stated that a couple of times they've seen this creature looking through the windows. They're scared when they call. He stated, "The calls we're getting from people. They weren't hallucinating. They weren't drunks. And they weren't people we know could make hoax calls. They're from real citizens of the Fort Apache Indian Reservation who are in shock and panic." Reports of encounters with the Mogollon monster are still coming from the White Mountains and the Fort Apache Indian Reservation. Numerous videos, photos, and audio clips of the monster have been recorded throughout the entire region in the last decades. This photo was captured in 2022 on private property at the rim and aroused some attention online. It allegedly shows the monster pulling a deer carcass into the thicket. However, let's listen to some audio recordings from the area. The first 2 clips were recorded in 2024 near Payson. The next recording comes from an area close to the rim and was recorded in 2023. The Mogollon Rim as a possible Sasquatch habitat makes, of course, a lot of sense. The pine forest on the Colorado Plateau north of the rim is vast and covers roughly 1,500 square miles. The Hell's Gate Wilderness south of the rim consists of 37,000 acres of protected wilderness, with practically no settlements. The 210 miles of the Mogollon Rim itself are, of course, packed with steep cliffs, remote forests, and caves. The region is also filled with countless lakes and creeks. Knoll Lake, near Payson, is also notorious for many encounters with the monster. In many cases, fishermen or campers were chased away from the lake at night by terrifying screams, rock throws, or even sightings of the monster. The native tales of the region speak of big hair-covered people living in the remote forests centuries before the first European settlers arrived. All tribes of eastern Arizona, the Apache, the Hopi, and others, have comparable stories and legends in which Bigfoot-like creatures appear, mostly as hostile and extremely dangerous entities. Various books have been written on the Mogollon Monster. The most informative might be The Mogollon Monster, Arizona's Bigfoot by Susan Farnsworth, and Weird Arizona by Wesley Treat, from which many of the information in this video were taken. The Mogollon Monster is, of course, just one of many examples of Bigfoot and Sasquatch encounters in the southern United States. See the links in the video description for Bigfoot territory episodes on the Fouke Monster from Arkansas and other stories from the southern United States. What is your opinion on the Mogollon Monster? Have you come across something strange in the forests of eastern Arizona? Let me know in the comments. Hit the like button if you have enjoyed this episode of Bigfoot Territory. Subscribe to the Squatch Mafia channel at YouTube for more videos on Bigfoot and Sasquatch. Check out Squatch Mafia at Patreon and TikTok for extra content. Thank you for watching.